Hi guys, I am back. It's been a bit too long. I've been missing all of you, but when was the last time I even uploaded? I think it was not 3 weeks ago. Lucas, the last time I recorded was before the launch. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel horrible about that, but I do want to give you guys a little bit of an update. So since we launched, actually, I want to get closer. I can't get comfortable. It is too hot in Paris. I'm wearing all like cotton clothes, very thin. They're actually Lucas's clothes. My hair is well frizzy. Heat wave is here. Hormone Harmony launched. Sorry, it's really hot. 1 second. And with the change of temperature, like drastic change of temperature, we all got hit with terrible allergies, and I've been a little bit more silent because first of all, I like swelled up like a balloon. So I didn't really want to have my face on camera. But the biggest reason is that I sneezed so many times back to back that I damaged the tissue in the back of my throat and I couldn't speak. I had the worst pain, literally very similar to strep. And strep throat is like, for me, one of the most painful things you can go through because our throat is just important. Sorry. Okay. Either way, that's a little update on where I've been. Moving on. God. Okay. Guys, we launched Hormone Harmony. Over the past 3 weeks, apart from the allergies, we've been very busy. Lucas and I have been working every single day, booking calls until 3 in the morning. I'm not joking. Like, I go to bed usually around 3, 4 in the morning because I am in Europe. I'm in Paris time. And any call that anybody will take with us, we'll take it no matter what. Because our number one goal right now is to just find the team that's going to help us grow Mila Mend and put it in the place where we can get it into all of your hands. Because Mila Mend is such a unique brand that we have created. And I hate to say brand. This is more than a brand. This is a literal movement that we are creating. This delicious drink right here is the most comprehensive and the best supplement out there for women that struggle with PCOS, with hormonal imbalances, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, name it. This is the beauty that happens when you create something that's actually meant to support a woman, not just profit off of the pink tax or off of their insecurities and these health issues and all these areas of needed support. It doesn't just pertain to the US, it pertains to every single woman out there. And that's why my number one priority right now is to work with my team, work with Lucas to try to find those people that are going to help us take this drink internationally into your hands without having to pay for that ridiculous shipping rate. Grow our inventory because we don't want to sell out every time, which is, again, a pinch me moment. And I cannot believe that I'm saying this. And again, thank you guys so much for your support. But the reason why I am mentioning all of this is because I did go a little bit quiet. I almost burnt out, a slight burnout, because I am heavily involved with everything we do with Mila Mend from step one, the whole process, same with Lucas. And the difference between us is I do all the social media, I run all of the accounts, it's just me. All the infographics, everything. And that takes a lot of my time. It takes a lot of creativity. And sometimes when I'm thinking about new studies or things that I talked about with my R&D team, trying to source a better ingredient or talking about logistics and how we can bring down the weight of the packaging so we can get a better rate and get it quicker to you guys, well, then there's no room to think about what am I going to film or post. Sometimes I don't even get to call my mom and ask her how she's doing, which again, it only happens in these moments where so much is happening at once. We have pre-orders to fill. I want to make sure everything goes smoothly and at the same time that we keep growing to get to so many of you, because every day I wake up and I see so many of your messages, so many of your comments asking me to go to Brazil, to go to Germany, to go to Japan, Singapore, the Middle East, India, and of course we're gonna get there. And that's my number one priority, getting there to your home country and finally being able to be offering international shipping. So it's a lot more complicated than it sounds, but we're getting there. And as for a little update on everything that's been going on with our focus group, all of you guys who got to order our Home and Harmony, our V1, our very first baby. We're doing a little observational survey. We got the first results of the first 2 weeks, and the results have been mind-blowing because when everybody was doing the recipe, like me, you have to product stack. You have to take multiple powders. First of all, it's really annoying. Second, very expensive. But when you product stack, every product will always have an additive, fillers, flavoring, etc. And when you take multiple, well, you're taking multiple fillers, you get it. But at the same time, unless you're buying from like incredible companies, which is not the case for many of us, you don't know the purity and the potency of that said ingredient. You might thought you were getting 2,000 milligrams of inositol in each scoop, but in reality, maybe that company was putting a little bit less or a lot less. I've seen it happen. And so many of my girls, when they finally got our blend that we test for everything, we share our third-party results because we are obsessed with testing and being transparent. Usually before, when one of you guys would take the recipe, you would see benefits by like the 30th day. We have girls getting their periods back in 7 days. That's insane. So all the benefits that we had projected, also with clinically studied ingredients that show the benefits come in after 30 days, it's happening much sooner. Girls are finding relief very quickly, and I'm so excited. And at the same time, with the feedback of our focus group, we got to improve the flavor. They give us incredible recommendations. We made the necessary adjustments, and you guys were so right. Because now that we reflavored based on what you guys guided us to do, your drink it's better than a tea. It's insane. I'll just wait for you guys to try it. It is delicious. There will be a smaller restock in mid-July. And what I mean by smaller is because in August, we're actually going to have a bigger restock. And if any of you made a pre-order, that will be delivered to you on August. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. But with our pre-orders, we also took advantage and ordered a little bit more for any of you guys who missed on the pre-orders and who missed on the pre-orders, missed on the restock, hopefully not, or you want to restock from the restock, or you want to try it for the first time. And those are the little updates that I have. But with that, let's get going on our episode today, where I want to talk to you guys about PCOS and birth control. Now, again, you guys helped me out on this topic. So many of you requested it in our pretty hormonal group chat. And I'm going to be very careful when I talk about this because I had many perspectives on birth control from the amount of fear-mongering that there is around birth control, going to Catholic school. And I also have the perspective of thinking that it was a miracle drug. And now I feel like I'm more neutral. But as I speak about oral contraceptives, birth control in general, I'm going to say my story. But remember, I'm not a doctor. I am not qualified to talk about this at all. But I hope that by sharing my experience and what I've gone through with being on birth control pretty much all of my teenage life, maybe you can relate to this and maybe it can help you on your journey, or you can relate, shed some clarity on maybe why you're feeling the way that you're feeling or having doubts on your decisions. That was an odd thing to say. Sorry. Let's just start. Why did I ever go on birth control? Okay, so my first symptoms was the fact that I had an irregular cycle at 14 years old. But it's not uncommon, but it was quite painful. And I also had a lot of mental health issues growing up. This was largely to do with situations at home that were not ideal, and my grades weren't doing that well. I had concentration issues. Was it the ADD, or was it me just crying for help? I don't know. My mom quickly found me a doctor that specialized a little bit into like women's care, but this clinic, oh my god, did they prescribe anything and everything. And it was I'm not going to say the name because I am talking shit on them, but this clinic specialized in helping only female patients, which is really cool. But now that I think back on it, I think if I would have expressed any symptom, I would have gotten a medication for any symptom. Like every appointment, I left with a new prescription, which is already a red flag. But again, you know, doctors are also victims of the medical system. And I know that my doctor wanted only the best for me. I have no bad feelings towards them. they were really trying to do their best. But going back to this doctor that I really liked, I started to tell them that I had irregular cycles. I also had acne. I never told anybody about my facial hair because I was so ashamed of it. I wouldn't even tell my doctors. I wouldn't tell my mom, nobody. I was so ashamed of my hirsutism. But the acne, the irregular periods, the painful periods were enough. And also knowing that I wasn't happy, maybe it was PMS or PMDD, because that also affects your mental health. They told me, hey, you should try birth control. It will help with your acne, clear it all up, your periods will be regular, and why not give it a go? I was 14, but I've always looked older. The way that I look right now is the way that I looked like when I was 14. Either way, I quickly got on the combination pill. My acne improved. My symptoms improved. I had a regular cycle. And my hirsutism improved barely. After a few months, I got bigger boobs and I was so happy about that. I just went back to my doctor and I was like, of course, I love this pill. I feel amazing. I had clearer skin, bigger boobs. I was a happy, happy girl. But the hirsutism kept bothering me. And this is where I finally got more comfortable with my doctor and told them, hey, I have a facial hair growth. I shave my face every day. And it makes me very self-conscious. I irritate my skin all the time and it's not working for me. And then super kind, he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give you spironolactone. You're going to love it. I went on spironolactone. I felt great in the beginning. Then I increased my dose because it was still not I wanted it to be gone, essentially. Helped my skin tremendously. But then I started to faint. And then I started to have heart issues. So then I went to the cardiologist and I had postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. I was diagnosed with POTS. I went to SoulCycle with a friend of mine to see like this new instructor. I passed out in his class. I passed out in his class and it was so scary. Like, I've never been so scared. But yeah, so that really sucked. And that's when I realized, wow, there are actual side effects to these medications. And I started to question everything I was taking, down to my birth control. But as I kept getting older, I started to do some research. Then comes, I'm 17, 18, and I realized new things are coming out about the birth control pill, the combination pill, especially the one that I was on. And I was on multiple. When my insurance would stop covering the one I was on, I would switch over. I did Yaz, I did Sprintec, I did so many, ortho tricycline. And then I would also realize like there were some specific ones that would make my acne worse. They would flare up my symptoms. So I always stayed on the combination pill. But my biggest issue with being medicated on birth control pills, on synthetic hormones since I was 14, is that I reached the age of 18 where I was starting to realize, you know what, maybe I should come off hormones. I don't want to be taking a freaking pill every day at the same time. It was so annoying to travel, to have it on me at times. And also you see a young girl pulling out her birth control pills. I felt so self-conscious. Also, I went to Catholic nun school that scarred me for life. Like, I can't even enter a church anymore. I'm from Mexico, so of course religion is part of our culture, but that school scarred the living shit out of me. They would force us to go pray outside of abortion clinics and hold signs as women were walking in crying to get an abortion. Yeah, that's the type of school I had to go to. And I obviously, after that experience, I actually dropped out. That's a story for another time. But either way, and I didn't drop out. I dropped out and then I switched schools. Like, I picked it back up. Either way, I felt very ashamed to take these pills, but I also knew personally that they were helping me, so I didn't really care. And I had this idea with my doctor telling me just such great things about birth control that it was harmless. And yeah, birth control is fantastic. The most important thing is that it's a reproductive right. That's why I love birth control. And it does lower your risk of ovarian cancer. And if you take it for more than 5 years, I think it reduces it by 50%. And that is incredible for any woman that is at risk for ovarian cancer. But as I was nearing the age of 18 and I was gonna go to college, I had my scare with spironolactone. I really wanted to come off of birth control. And that's where I started to do research. I started to see all the fear mongering, all the gurus saying, you don't know if you really love your boyfriend or not if you met him while you were on the pill, because when you come off of it, you're not going to be in love anymore. That fucked me up because I was in a relationship at the time. And I was like, oh my God, hormones, that's true. Hormones, like they dictate everything about us. What if I don't love him? Or what if I'm not even myself? What if I'm going to college and I'm going to choose a career? And what if I choose a career or a career path to study that I don't even care about because this is not me and I don't have enough testosterone, because testosterone makes you more of a risk taker and maybe I like to do other things. I start to go into this whole spin. I go see my OBGYN in Texas. Literally met her same day that I made an appointment to talk more closely about birth control with her. I don't know how, but she literally told me, "Why don't you like the pill?" And I answered very simply. I said, well, I still have symptoms. I'll get occasional breakouts. My periods are still pretty painful. And I hate taking the pill. And just the last thing, I hate taking the pill. She goes, oh, then let's just put you on the Mirena IUD. And I was like, oh shit, IUD? I've heard horror stories about IUDs and Mirena. I've heard that women gain so much weight on it. Again, everybody has terrible stories about birth control. She tells me in her office, I don't know, it's fantastic. Everybody loves it. I've never taken it out of a patient. And all my patients that have Mirena IUD, they love it. So I was like, okay, sold. That day, I got my Mirena IUD. I passed out from the pain. The pain from getting an IUD. I know women that didn't really have an issue, but you cannot tell me that you don't scream when they clamp your cervix. It is horrible how men are given so many pain relief options when they get a vasectomy, which is a tiny little incision, and then we get our cervix clamped, pierced, like insert an IUD, and we're just told to breathe. It's so fucked up. So yeah, I got my Mirena IUD. Immediately I had the worst skin of my life. I was covered in acne. I did gain weight, but I loved that I didn't have to worry about taking a pill, so I stayed on it. I really worked on my diet. I really worked on my skincare routine. This is where I found also my skincare face reality program, where they taught me everything I know today about skincare. They taught me about benzoyl peroxide, which is my baby, and I will never let that active ingredient go. And I was able to get clear. But then when I left for college and I went to New York, I then knew that I had to start getting pap smears and care more about my health. So I found an OBGYN, and the moment she met me, she's okay, tell me about your cycle. And I told her, well, I don't have a cycle. She goes, what? And I go, yeah, I have a Mirena IUD. And she's like, at this age, you have a Mirena IUD? And I was like, yeah. She couldn't believe it. And then she told me, okay, but like, did you ever take birth control? And I go, yeah, I mean, I've been on the pill since I was 14. And she literally looked at me and she said, so you're telling me that you've been on synthetic hormones since you were 14, and we don't really know what your natural cycles are like because they've always been hormonally induced, like medically induced. And I go, yep, that's right. And she told me, if you feel fine, it's okay. I mean, at that time, there was like this article running around saying that menstrual cycles are not even natural and it's totally fine for a woman to never have one. So she's like, if you're sexually active, I'm glad you're protected. You gotta think about the fact that you don't know what your cycle is, how your body's actually doing. And that scared me, and it sent chills down my spine. And I was like, that's so true. And that's when I really started to meditate and realize I've been on antidepressants and birth control pills for such a long time. What came first, the mental health issues or the birth control? Or did the mental health issues never go away because I was on the pill? So I realized that the best thing I could do for myself and for this investigation was to come off the contraceptives. And I was scared about the post-pill syndrome that everybody talks about, all your symptoms coming back and flaring. But I did enough research. This is a time where I also started to really devote my time to learning about my health and women's health. And what I learned was birth control pills, they do cause some disruptions to your microbiome. They can deplete you from certain minerals and nutrients. So what I did during this time, preparing myself to have an easy transition, was I would have a daily smoothie where I would throw in vegetables, cruciferous veggies, broccoli that you can even taste if you put it like frozen broccoli cooked with a chocolate protein shake. I would use a little scoop of a multivitamin or, micronutrients, something that I would find at Whole Foods. I started having that every day and I continued it, and I had a pretty smooth transition off. But my cycles were irregular. My hirsutism got much worse after a few months. Then my acne got a little bit more congested, but I was on top of my skincare. It was fine. This is where I found myself having the same symptoms that I was having at 14 years old and more, because now I had stress and a different body. And next thing you know, I started to gain weight, and conveniently at the same time, COVID happens. Lucas and I go through grief. Mental health goes to shit. My nervous system has never been so fucked, completely dysregulated. I did not have all the tools or the support that I needed to come out of this undamaged. And so with that, I started to have so many symptoms, fatigue, not really feeling like myself that I had before, but I was so used to it. But it was much worse. I started to have the hair loss. I started to have all of these massive issues that I never had before. Yes, it was at the period that I was the most stressed, but it was also the time where I had no hormones in my system. And then, long story short, I get diagnosed for PCOS and hypothyroidism, which I had to fight for. So I saw so many endocrinologists, so many OBGYNs, I saw so many primary care providers, internists, so many people from the first day I ever asked for help, that I was 14, and to the age where I got diagnosed. And all of these people gave me so many medications, pointed at different reasons for why this could be happening, usually blaming the fact that I was a woman for me experiencing all these symptoms. And I'm so upset because that first appointment when I was 14, of all the medications I've been given, I think the worst one, the most detrimental one, was the birth control pill. Because if I had not been given the birth control pill and my doctor would have told me, okay, let's just support you, let's get some extra vitamin D because your labs are quite low. They've always been low. Also linked with hypothyroidism and PCOS. We're all deficient in vitamin D. If you would have said, let's also work on your nutrition, let's see other ways around it, I'm pretty fucking sure that by the next year around of trying to change things and investigating, I would have probably had my PCOS diagnosis so much quicker and my life would have been remarkably easier. But because of the fact that every doctor loves to just shove birth control pills for most women that just present themselves with some acne or painful periods or a little bit of issues that might have to do with their hormones, so many of us go undiagnosed. In fact, 70% of us with PCOS, we never get diagnosed. And they actually only care and give a shit about our conditions the moment we want to conceive. But guys, let's stay positive because I am still on birth control today. I am somebody that freaks out when it comes to birth control. If it's not over 97%, even 97 freaks me out. If it's not over 98% protection, you cannot have a baby. There's a 2% chance you might fall pregnant. I'm not going to be sleeping. I don't know why. I really get stressed out about these things. That's why I was always on the highest dose of the combination pill. I was always on Sprintec. I was on the Mirena IUD and I was so happy because I was like, oh shit, I really don't have to worry anymore. Thank God, yes. But now that I was off of birth control and I wanted to make sure I'm also in a relationship, I don't want to fall pregnant. It's a reproductive right. Birth control is so important. I wanted to find the best birth control option for me. And now here's the thing. Like I said previously, my OBGYN was like so shocked that I had been given a Mirena IUD at a young age, when in reality that's bizarre messaging. It is fine for younger women to have IUDs, and specifically copper IUDs. I really don't understand why they're only recommended for moms, because they have the highest satisfaction rate out of all birth control methods. Yes, copper IUDs, some people might have a little bit more cramping or a heavier flow, but you can correct those things. For me, that's one of the things that scared me the most about it, given that I had painful periods before. But with this baby, I don't have those issues. And so I finally made the decision that I still wanted to have a high protection rate. And the copper IUD is sometimes used as like a plan B method from how effective it is. So I was very happy about that. I wanted to try it out. And this time around, I was in Paris when I got it. And it's really funny because in Paris, they don't have the typical Paragard. They have something called a Mona Lisa, which is a tiny little copper IUD. And I was lucky enough to get my IUD inserted by the man who built the thing, I don't know what it's called, the instrument, that can view your cervix. Like, you insert it through your cervix and you can see your uterus with a camera. I was able to get it done through him because my OBGYN from a long time ago, she cut my string too short. Yes, I had to go through that. It was really painful trying to get it out with an OBGYN. He referred me to the pro, the man, the myth, the legend himself who made this instrument. Nicest old man ever. Made me feel very comfortable. And it was literally painless. And he was godsend because the first time I ever got it, oh my god, was it bad. So yeah, I had a little bit of cramping, but it was the first time that I had a birth control method that I had no side effects from other than the typical spotting because your body's getting used to it. Your first cycle, I mean, it was a bit weird, but it has been the best decision I've ever made. I have no issues with it whatsoever. It lasts for so many years. I don't have to think about it. It is 99.9% effective. Yes. But that said, it's still copper. Having copper in my system, I do like to support my body with taking in some zinc and magnesium to balance things out. I'm getting congested. But to summarize, if your doctor, your OBGYN, recommends birth control for you because you have a risk for ovarian cancer or it might help your specific medical condition, that's what medicine is here for. That's where you really want to trust your doctor. Work with a good doctor that you trust, that listens to your concerns and your needs. And not only that, it's also about accessibility. For some people, I'm sure that hormonal birth control is just more accessible to them. It's more affordable. So with that said, I completely respect anybody's opinion. There's still things you can do to support your body while you're on birth control and when you're off of birth control. When you're using a hormonal contraceptive or a non-hormonal contraceptive. But when you have PCOS, when you have a hormonal imbalance or an endocrine disorder, I am a huge fan of coming off of hormonal birth control because it will help your investigative process. It will give a clear picture of your hormones. You cannot test your hormones correctly if you're taking synthetic hormones, not even if you're taking biotin. So imagine if you're on the pill. I think it's very important for all of us, especially when you have symptoms, to be able to see clearly where your estrogen and progesterone levels are, where your sex hormone binding globulin, your SHGB levels are. Sometimes when you take oral contraceptives, they may be elevated while you're taking them and stay elevated for a long period of time. But again, I'm not an expert on this. I'm going to leave a little link in the description of one of my number one superwoman and icons in this space who made a lovely video about this, and I think you guys will really love it. And she will be able to give you a better perspective from an OBGYN and badass doctor that she is, and her incredible experience as well. But yeah, that's my take on birth control. And I know that some of you might have other things to think about. I had to pass my exams, I had to study, I had to keep up my extracurricular activities, I had to see friends on the weekends. The last thing on my mind was my birth control pills. Any woman who is busy, who has kids and has so many things to do, I'm not gonna lie, birth control is so good at helping reduce so many of the symptoms that cause us a lot of issues. So if birth control is the only thing that's helping you get your life together in this moment, then fucking go on it. Absolutely. Again, that's what medication is there for. I'm nobody to judge. I've taken it. The only thing that I do recommend that if you are on any oral contraceptive or any hormonal birth control, please look up the risks, because most doctors fail to let us know about birth control, and There's specific risks. I know for estrogen containing birth control, you are at a risk for blood clots. You should be wearing compression socks when you're on an airplane. Others, you're at risk for other things. The depot shot, you cannot be on it for long term. So make sure that you're aware of these things, because I have seen many doctors be wildly irresponsible when prescribing birth control to other women. Just be aware of your options, know the risks of what you're taking, also the benefits, know both sides, and know that eventually when you come off birth control, when it's time for you to start planning a family, or you want to switch to a non-hormonal birth control method, there are ways that you can support your body come off of it also while you're on it. And ultimately, just be aware of all of these factors in an unbiased manner, because I would never want any of you to make a decision out of fear, out of misinformation, or out of some BS. So guys, I hope this video gives you a peace of mind if you were scared about birth control. I hope it gives you clarity if you don't really know where you should go or what you should choose. And again, even though I'm not the most qualified for this, I think hearing others' experiences always helps. And I'm gonna link below some resources that help me make my decision, and some people that I love to hear their opinion, experts on these specific topics. So again, I love you guys so much. Thank you for your support. I love you guys. Ciao.